If you've ever seen me eat cereal with a fork, you'll know that I'm a master at improvisational substitution. Those skills translate very well to guitar composition, so today we're going to talk about one of my favorite chord substitutions that I do not feel is used often enough. So let's talk about what a chord substitution is first real quick. In any key, we're going to do this in the people's key of G major. We've got 6 main chords we use and then the one diminished chord. And really, so if we have the notes of the major scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G, any one of those 7 notes can become a chord. So we end up with G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp half diminished, and then back to G, okay? So when I think of chord substitutions, I think of maybe changing one of those chords to something that it shouldn't be. Now the chord substitution that I'm gonna talk about today is gonna happen on the 5 chord, okay? So D major is the 5 chord in the key of G. Really has a use of creating a lot of tension that brings you home to G, okay? You can even increase that tension by making it a D dominant 7 chord and bringing it home like that, right? Very traditional sound. Guess what? We're gonna sub that out for what? D minor. So this is gonna be a minor 5 chord is one way to talk about this, okay? And I wanna talk a little bit about why I think this is a cool chord, some cool things you can do with it, all right? So one of the things about the D major chord, specifically that D dominant 7 chord also, one of the reasons it's bringing you home to the root chord, the parent key, is because of the major third in that chord. So the major third in D is an F sharp, okay? F sharp happens to be the last note, the 7th note, in the key of G. So when we have that D major chord, and you're hearing that F sharp, it's like it's almost to G, we're trying to get back to G, and then when you hit that G, even if you hit a G major 7, which is a G with that F sharp, it just kind of gives you that nice, everything is right in the world sound. Now, if we take away that major third, and we play an F instead of an F sharp, that makes a D minor chord, okay? Now, it's still, we've been kind of messing around in the key of G so far for this entire video, so there's still a draw to get you back to G, but it's a totally, it's more of a mellow thing. It's not as, it doesn't kind of force you in that direction, whereas like a D7 would. A D minor, minor 5 chord, kind of creates like a mellowness that I think is really cool compositionally that you can use in music, right? So for some examples about this, let's try to insert this, sub this D minor chord into different progressions that we can use in the key of G. So I'm gonna start off with actually playing that G major 7, because if we just take the key of G and just lose all the F sharps and play an F instead, then really we're not even subbing out, we're just playing something in the key of C, but just being G heavy, mixolydian would be a name for that. But I wanna make sure that we are firmly entrenched in the key of G major. So that's why we're using this G major 7 as our example with our other chords, and then throwing that D minor back into right off the bat. That's such a cool mellow sound going from a G major 7 to a D minor and back. By the way, rocking out the D Angelico Deluxe Atlantic as always. Love this guitar so much. So back there, minor 5 chord, home. Maybe we could add the 3 chord in the key of G. What's 3 chord in the key of G? G, A, B. 3 chords always minor. So we have like a G major 7, B minor. Maybe just jam on that for a minute. So it's just tasty. The minor 5 chord, I love it. So let's talk about the relationship between that and maybe the 4 chord. G, 4 chord is C. I'll make it a major 7 chord because that's what I do. That's going from the 4 to the minor 5 that we're subbing out in relation to a regular 5 chord. Something you've probably heard before somewhere. Now, and again, it works really well. Instead of just always replacing a D major with the D minor, you can kind of sub them in and out within the same progression, which I think is something really cool. Another one that I like to do is really focusing on the other minor chords in this key. Again, any key has 3 minor chords that are traditionally used. In this one, we've got the E minor, which I'll play right here, rooted on the 7th fret of the A string. And And then the string above or below that, whatever your orientation is the 3 chord, B minor. So E minor to B minor, and then A minor is that other minor chord in there. Now, a cool thing you can do is once you have that minor 5 chord in there, okay, and you see there's still kind of like a directional kind of pull, but it's a totally different mellower vibe. Chord 3 minor 5 2 1. We can go through the chord scale 1 2 3 4 minor 5. Maybe at the end you can always just make everything right by getting that real dominant 7 chord in there. Now let's talk a little bit about that interval that we're really introducing. It's like I said before, it's taking a minor third from D as compared to a major third. So we're adding that F instead of an F sharp. So I'm kind of focusing in on the 8th fret of the A string for our minor third for a D minor chord. Another thing you can do is just kind of like extend into that. So when I say that, let's do something like a 3-note per string G major scale, like if we have the first 6 notes right there, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, F sharp, G. You'll notice we have this little chromatic kind of walk that we can get starting here. All right, and you may have even heard that before. That sounds kind of bluesy, right? So there's a lot that you can do with this, and really, if we kind of just think of adding the F note to the key of G, then it really unlocks a lot of different options as far as different chord building type things compositionally. I just think when I think of like chord substitutions, I think of a good way to think of it is like maybe adding one thing to a key and then seeing all the possibilities from there. And maybe if you know you're a songwriter or you're working on a piece of music, being able to kind of think of maybe certain things that you might like the sound of by unlocking different chords into a key that you're already really familiar with is something that can really take you in an exciting direction. And for me, something I like to think about is pivoting on that minor 5 chord. And the way that I like to think of it is I almost think of, since I play major 7 chords all the time, which I'm sure a lot of you people know if you've seen these videos, we have the 2 popular major 7 chords in a key on the 1 chord and the 4 chord. Now, when I have this D minor in here, really I'm thinking more of like C as being 1 and minor being 2 in the key of C. But what I like to do is I kind of like thinking of maybe going back and forth between 2 keys within a song, because then you can really have that much more compositional control of where your tonal center is. So when I think of a D minor in the key of G, maybe I'm almost thinking of switching real quick to the key of C and then unlocking everything that the key of C is in. And that really speaks true for like soloing, if you want to start doing like different pentatonic shapes on top of that. But it's just kind of like approaching how you're playing in a different way. And I think a great way to introduce yourself to that, if maybe you kind of feel stuck in the same kind of compositional stuff, is really looking into chord substitutions, but then more importantly thinking why those chord substitutions work. And again, the reason this works is because we don't have the F sharp that's pulling us right to a G. We have this F that has a little bit more distance from the G. So that's why it's kind of like a mellower, more mellow, is mellower even a word? Mellow approach to home. But again, just kind of, it just has a cool sound. So anyways, I'm a huge fan of the minor 5 chord. Let me know some of your favorite chord substitutions, and maybe I'll do other standalone videos and just some cool chord substitutions, because I think it's a topic that I feel is very jazz-centric, but I don't think it has to be that way, because some of the greatest, rock songs, whatever genre you want to pick at, have very interesting things going on with chords. I think chord substitutions are an excellent way to talk about that. So let me know in the comment section below, and hit me up in that comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. Sign up for the masterclass, buy yourself some merch, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.